Well, the animations we just saw are only one aspect of Sam Messer's work. Portraits of people, dogs, typewriters, and bridges are also in his portfolio, and in fact, examples of them all are on display just behind us in the BRIC Gallery, part of an exhibit called Bridges.
Now, one portrait in particular is of the writer, journalist, and editor Garnette Cadogan. And tonight, artists and the subject will be in conversation here on our stoop. But right now, we're getting our very own preview. Here to tell us what brought them together and how a painter and a writer collaborate in the first place are artist Sam Messer. Welcome to BK Live.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. And the man on the canvas, Garnette Cadogan.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
You know, I love it when artists come together and collaborate. I'm sure there's a story here. How did you two guys sort of meet and come together?
I read Garnette's work over a year ago and was just really moved by it. And I reached out to someone who knew him, and then I sent him an email and asked if I could come draw you.
That's simple.
So I'm sure you get a lot of comments. Like, I'm a comment troll person. I love to read what people say after you write something or do it, but probably not a lot of requests to be the subject of some portraiture.
No, that was unusual. And my inclination was to say no. I like being behind rather than in front of the camera.
Right.
Though that sounds...
No camera here.
Yeah.
The camera of your eyes.
But one, I love Sam's work. And two, we both had some of the same animating impulses. The things that moved me to write, moved me to walk, were some of the very same things that moved him to paint and to sketch. Cool. You know, this love for serendipity, this love for the variegated nature of cities and people, this desire to have surprise and playfulness be a central part of our work.
I love the fact that you love to write, you love to walk, but what made you want to write about walking?
It's such a simple, mundane, commonplace act. I mean, it's so much so that it's the kind of thing that you overlook.
Yeah.
But inside this simple thing, you know, all these rich, potent, symbolic ideas and values: independence, freedom, encounter. I mean, if somebody were to walk in the middle of the studio now, you know, even your favorite pop star, and disrupted this interview, as much as you love that person, there would be some annoyance, not a little bit of annoyance.
Listen, Janet Jackson, if you're in the hallway,
looking at the door right now.
come on in.
Is somebody about to come in?
It's David Bowie.
But
Or if he walks in, we know
if
something.
the child of a relative were to walk in,
Yeah.
taking its first steps, so your nephew is taking his first steps,
Right. It's a whole different
all bets
thing.
are off.
Yeah.
Everybody will be
Right.
forgiven. Like a baby's taking his first steps, independence, freedom, discovery, encounter. Of course, we celebrate that. And so even from a very young age, there are these values that we associate with walking, if we don't think consciously about them.
Right.
And so to look at walking the way it's a barometer. If it's wet outside and you're walking, you're wet. If it stink, you know, that smell is assaulting your nostrils.
In Germany, they call it the Volksmarch, and people go on Volksmarches all the time.
Yeah.
It's called the People's Walk, and you just get out there and you walk and you take in your environment. So, you know, Sam, can you tell us about, you know, your sort of inspiration for wanting to capture the iconic, you know, bridges and portraits of New York City in your, you know, walks around life?
So the idea of the bridges came after I started making the animations. And it's basically, I'm not as articulate as Garnette, and it's basically just a really simple idea. The show was originally going to be portraits, because for the simple genesis of just, I draw people, I reach out to meet them, to meet different people. Yeah. But I kind of lost interest in just making the portraits. But then I was marching in the Women's March, and I had a sign that said, "Bridges, not walls," and I thought, and there was that, right on 42nd Street, there were all those people above Grand Central on that kind of bridge there. And I just thought that would make that's just a great image. And I made a drawing of it. And then I just started making, I thought it was more interesting to make the paintings of the bridges. And I've always been a fan, you know, as Garnette is, of Whitman, of Lorca, of the history of the bridges in New York. So
when it comes to that work, we're pretty used to artists or I guess if flowing the other way, to writers being inspired by artists and looking at forms or work that are paintings and going off from there using it as a jumping point. But there's not a lot of that reverse flow where people who are artists in the visual arts get inspired by writers.
Yeah, I've found that most of my work has always, since I'm a kid, been more inspired by just being in the world, but also reading, mostly poetry. I didn't have the stamina, I didn't have the...
To go with the thick
Well,
novels.
the novels, when I was younger, I just didn't have the concentration.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, what do you, I want everybody to come out and see
Preview.
tonight, but yeah, if you can give us a little preview, what are you guys going to be discussing tonight? What will be some of the subjects covered? And, it's Brooklyn and New York itself is an amazing place because there's so many creatives here, and so many people are trying to find their way as artists, and you guys have been able to do that. So when the people come out and check you out today, what are some of the things that you're going to tell them?
Like some of the mundane things, the things that take for granted and how pregnant they are with meaning. I mean, you think of something like walking, as I was saying, it's a mundane task, but you want to understand what it's like to be black in America? Try asking what it's like to walk as a black man in America. You want to understand what it's like to be a woman and the ways in which you're either too visible or invisible. Ask what it's like to walk as a woman. You want to understand some of the big perennial issues of our time: inequality, racism, transphobia. Ask what it's like for people, with different identities to walk and the way they are treated and
But
the
if
way
I
the
ask
society
them,
responds.
does that mean I have to wait for them to respond? Do I have to listen to what they say as well? I can ask, but I don't just walk away after I ask,
do.
right?
I mean, actually, I think you may not have to stay there for an hour, but if you don't listen at all, then you're just continuing the reason why there are all these problems, right? And so, I mean, that's why I draw, is, I'm in a more privileged position, just from my birth, but it puts me in contact with people, and in some way, by drawing them, it opens people up. I can't tell you how many people I've met that invite me into their homes, that, I meet, like you talk about celebrities, I meet people because I draw them, and they'll talk to me. I don't think Trump will talk to me, but beyond that, I think anyone else.
So what is your thing with writers? Because writing is, by its very definition, this solitary pursuit. In Brooklyn, I don't know, there's something in the water. We have a lot of world-class writers who are here, and novelists and all this jazz. So what is it about them or letting you in and collaborating on something that's not a collaboration?
All the writers that I'm close to?
Yeah.
Starting with Denis Johnson, I did Jonathan Safran Foer, Paul Auster, Garnette. I've met by drawing them at first. And I think from that, and they're also people that, in a sense, we talked about how we generate work.
Yeah.
We work in similar ways, which is not necessarily isolated. Paul is more isolated in terms of, but I don't know. I just find what they know is they know so much more than I do. I like putting myself there.
There are some things also, as we said, to discuss, and we recognize that there are ways in which we work which are unusual.
Yeah.
That you found, wonderful parallels, in terms of doing art, whether it be writing, whether it be painting, whether it be sketching, but also to even look at other things that are not art per se, but at the center of the artistic enterprise: walking, encountering, listening, trying to understand what it means for people to belong. And so, for instance, all of my essays begin by a bunch of words on paper, just
your
words, just like a
process.
word cloud. And so, for many people, it be unhelpful, but if somebody says, show me your first draft, my first draft is a big sheet of paper with just like 50, 60 words, just words like that. And then they start swirling around like in a whirlpool and forming themselves into phrases, then sentences, then the essay.
Okay.
And he works similarly.
Well, you know what? We're going to have to invite everybody to check you guys out here this evening. I'm seeing the whole collaborative process come together right here in front of me. Can I share this with the people?
There you go.
Bam. There you go.